Two personalities debating today's biggest geek topics. This is Project Nerds Versus.
Welcome back to another episode of Versus right here on Project Nerd. I am one of your hosts, Iggy, and I am joined by the most famous Project Nerd host of all, Q. How's it going, Q?
It's fantastic. It's hard being this famous all the time. Like, I get stopped pretty much anywhere I go, which, you know, now that we're still post-pandemic, it's pretty much nowhere. So at my house, I get recognized all the time.
All the time. So, that's true, especially with the little one. They're always asking for your attention, right?
Definitely. I recently shaved my beard, and he almost didn't recognize.
That's true. They do get confused by that. Oh, perfect. Well, Q is here for Tyler this week as he knocked Tyler out last time. Actually, Tyler is off to a wedding, so enjoy. Congratulations to the groom. It's not Tyler. He's just joining the wedding. I don't want to set some false precedents, ladies. He's still available for you. But he will be back with us next time. But in the meantime, Q's had such a great time with Versus lately. You've been on him as much as the rest of us have. So I guess without further ado, I don't know. Should we get started?
Let's just do it. There's so much to talk about. I'm ready to dive in.
There is a lot going on. And there was one topic in particular that caught my attention more than any other topic this week. And it had to do with the animated Harley Quinn series on HBO. So caution, rated R topic here, but according to Justin Halpern and Patrick Schumacher, both co-creators of the HBO animated series Harley Quinn, DC has given them tons of leeway, they said, with characters and scenes. They've been able to do almost everything they wanted. But for season 3, DC put their foot down on something new. And apparently the team wanted to have Batman going down on Catwoman, and DC said, quote, absolutely not. Heroes don't do that. Now, the exact reasoning is up for debate. If they actually said that or not, obviously, we're hearing this from the creators of Harley Quinn, not from DC themselves. Sure. So that's up for debate. And we don't want to go too far down talking about pleasuring our significant others, or this would put us in a whole other category of podcast. So I guess my question here is, this actually kind of posed something that made me think even beyond this specific funny incident. Was we've got stuff like Doom Patrol, the Harley Quinn series, which is fantastic. Zack Snyder, and the Batman's supposed to be much darker. We're seeing teasers for the new Flash movie with blood across Michael Keaton's Batman suit. We're targeting adults. It's darker. It's supposed to be more, kind of cutting edge here, at least on the DC side. But even for Marvel, where is this line with these new series that aren't targeting kids? Should they be drawing such a hard line in the sand, or should it be somewhere else?
All right. So I thought about this. First off, I just want to question the quote of superheroes don't do that. So it's good to know, apparently, according to the creators of Harley Quinn, paraphrasing DC, none of their superheroes perform any sort of fellatio on each other or other people ever. That's just outright for a superhero. That like blew my mind. But anyway, that aside, I will say, like, personally, I think, especially with DC, right? Like, DC has all of these different methods of delivery for their content. So you have the HBO Max series, which are kind of their own thing. You have the the CW DC series, which are kind of their own thing. You have the films, which are their own thing, even from each other sometimes, like with the Joker. So I personally think that the line could be drawn or the line could not be drawn anywhere if they wanted it to be.
Right.
Like, I personally would be fine. When I think of the Harley Quinn cartoon series, which is fantastic, by the way, and if you haven't seen it, or if anybody hasn't seen it, it's amazing. Definitely go watch it. For me, that exists in its own like bubble, right? So like whatever happens in that series, I'm not expecting to like pop up and carry over to a DCU film. So for me, I would have had no problem if they would have left that scene in. I wouldn't have been like, that is not Batman. I would have been like, oh, that's this weird series that does things like that. You know what I mean? Doom Patrol specifically, I'm glad you listed that one. I watch Doom Patrol all the time. I loved that series. Don't watch it with your kids. But I mean, they have an entire episode where there's like just ghosts having sex all over the mansion, and not just like implied, like showing it. And so clearly, like that line got drawn in a different place than Harley Quinn series. So personally, for me, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think there needs to be a line drawn. I think it can be whatever it wants to be, especially with DC having as broad of, you know, mediums and audience as they do. I don't think it's going to affect them one way or another.
It's a great point. A great point across the board there. I'm in agreement with you, but I'm going to build on some things. I want to touch on, I mentioned Marvel too, because I did curious about this. And I do think there's a harder line with Marvel's movies and series, mainly because it's tied to Disney and mainly because it is targeting, it is all coming together and targeting one audience. And like you said, these DC pieces all exist in their own universes. DC has openly acknowledged that from the comic side, that it's going to carry on their movie side. The new Batman movie has nothing to do with the Justice League stuff we saw from Zack Snyder. And the Flash movie is going to do nothing that changes the Batmans and the other, you know, so it's all different. So points to make here. One, there's nobody that's with Catwoman as long as Bruce Wayne's been with Catwoman that's not taking care of his lady. Just saying it. Like, let's be honest. Two, you mentioned the Doom Patrol stuff. Not only the ghost thing, the series opens with the guy having sex with his maid or his nanny, whatever. Like the whole
about that.
Yeah, the whole thing. And then on top of that, the way Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy get together in this series is more comical and very over the top. So for me, I'm going to get social political here and say it. I think it's the idea. It's the whole sexist thing. Who is in charge here at DC? Who's the one that said no? Because they were okay with just, you know, straight up sex. They're okay with the lesbian sex. They're okay with all this stuff. But when it comes to down something like this, where the woman's being taken care of, all of a sudden we're pausing on it. You can blame it on selling Batman toys all you want. I think there's some more to it here. And somebody at DC needs to, he needs to take a few classes, maybe learn how to better take care of his wife and things like that. We'll just leave it at that. I don't want to say too much to push somebody out, and Warner Brothers never want to do business with us because Warner, we're always hoping for business. It's true. That's how I feel.
We're here. And we can now, I guess, talk to your parent company, Discovery Plus. We're here to work with you, Discovery Plus. I will say that I'm sure Ray Fisher agrees with you that there are people in the higher up ranks that maybe have some antiquated thought processes.
Yeah, that might be a good way to put it. But anyways, that's it for Batman and Catwoman. This is one, well, I haven't asked it in a few episodes, but when we ask people, leave in the comments, this is one I'm definitely interested to hear a lot of people's feedback in. So head on over to our YouTube, our Facebook, wherever you get us, and definitely let us know in the comments what you think regarding this whole situation.
Yes. I'm going to be in the comments with popcorn. People saying about this. I love that. So moving on to a totally different from that, Netflix recently held their first ever Geeked Week online extravaganza, sort of like DC fandom-esque online convention where they shared exclusive news, trailers, first looks at their huge slate of geek-themed properties, including, but not limited to, trailers for Masters of the Universe Revelation, first looks at the live-action cast of Cowboy Bebop, behind the scenes of the Sandman adaptation, which I'm super excited of. And it brought up a thought in my head, which I genuinely never thought I would have ever. And that is, do you think that Netflix should consider hosting their own in-person convention? And would you be excited for something like that?
I think you're onto something here, and I think it goes beyond just this Geek Week. This Geek Week was much bigger than probably Netflix even anticipated. Super awesome. The Masters of the Universe trailer, which you can find over on Project Nerd. Sandman, which we've been waiting for as it's been passed around. Side note, too, the impact it had on other things. I believe it's HBO that the Borderlands series is going to be on, and they spent all week dropping little hints, probably in reaction to the amount Netflix was dropping. All of this going on, while we kind of missed a huge headline last week and weeks before, Netflix has made a bunch of comments about it. They want to get into video games. They own Millar World's comic book line. They have so much going for them, even beyond the streaming. They're losing streaming share. What would be a great way to make money as a whole and think of those other pieces? Heck yeah. a convention dedicated to this. They talk about when those when the La Casa de Papel, the money heist people were touring Europe.
Yeah.
The flocks of crowds. Get those people out of conventions. You've got superhero shows now that you can do. I'd love to meet some of these people. Sweet Tooth, we're talking like that. Mark Millar, who we just mentioned, who's going to be working on the video games. Maybe even some game tournaments at these conventions as they're having, right? For their own games that they introduced. I think they have a world of possibilities right here. And Q, I think you have to run it because you brought it up here.
I would love that. I was actually going to take exactly what you said and add to it, in that Project Nerd is not only an amazing podcast and video network, but shameless plug here, we are also a fully functioning con support group. So Netflix, listen, if you guys are watching this, we would love to come and do press and help run panels for said convention. Hell, we'll help you plan the thing. Just let us in. Just let's talk. I do think it would be amazing. I went to New York Comic-Con back in 2019, and they were there. Netflix had a big presence there. They were there with Big Mouth. The cast of Big Mouth was there.
That's good.
They had quite a few shows that were kind of premiering and being promoted. And one of the things that I even thought then was, man, Netflix has like a huge slate of kind of pop culture juggernauts, if you will. Stranger Things had a huge impression at New York City Comic-Con.
Great example, yeah.
And so I was like, man, I would in a heartbeat go to a Netflix Comic-Con. So yeah, let's talk Netflix. Let's sit down.
Yeah, great points you brought up on the shows there too. But even talking about over the past few years, as you were listing those, I'm thinking Old Guard, Project Power, all those things that would fit in a comic convention type, environment. You're exactly right. They have the properties for it. So great topic, sure. Great question, and great job getting us out of that rated R category first. We'll keep it clean here, and we're going to actually talk more big announcements and geek type weeks, and that's E3. Yeah. It's definitely changed over the years, although it's churning well. And if you're a fan of Nintendo's properties, you've had some great news, including a new Metroid game, your sequel to Breath of the Wild for Zelda. No, nothing on the Pro, but we'll get there. Xbox, obviously, good Lord, did they just overwhelmed. I felt like they were just throwing it out there, seeing what could stick. All of this is happening, and we're sitting here and wondering, where's Sony? Now, I know Sony up front, before we get called out by the gatekeepers, Sony up front did say E3 wasn't going to be a big thing for this year. They were going to do their own thing. But so did Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft's doing a lot of things throughout the year. I just feel like Sony is super quiet right now, especially when their systems, I don't want to say it's a controversy, but there's still a lot of attention around how difficult it is to get their new game systems. Yeah. And how many games in this first year have they delayed? Cyberpunk is just now coming back to their digital platform. What was it? Their Event Horizon sequel got pushed a year. Everything seems to not be going. So I guess my question here is, them being so quiet, is that a result of what's happening on the business side? Or was this a power move to where they're like, we're going to let everybody do their thing, and then we're going to come out and do our own conference bigger and better?
I think it's a mix of both, not to ride the fence here, but I do genuinely think it's a mixture of both. I think one, they have to worry that there would be somewhat, if they came out and, one of the big hot button or hot topics within the PlayStation community right now is the next generation of PSVR, right? So people are like, there's news articles going up weekly of like speculation of what it's going to be like and what its capabilities are, especially because the Quest is so hot right now. I think one of their fears was that if they go to a or if they go to a show like this and they announce like, here's these things that we're working on, I think they're scared of the backlash of the resounding, how about fixing the problems you have first before worrying about these things? How about getting more systems in the hands of people before we move on to like, check out this other new piece of tech that we built? So I think that is one reason. I think that there is a rightful fear of some backlash there. But two, I definitely think Sony for a long time has played things kind of close to the vest, and they kind of just release information when they want to. I mean, people speculated that the PS5 reveal was going to happen at much different times that it ended up happening. So I don't think this is necessarily out of the norm for them either.
Right.
So yeah, so that's why I think it's kind of both. I think they are definitely sitting back, because if any of the rumors are to be believed on some of the new pieces of tech that they have coming for the PS5, there's some really cutting edge, cool stuff that I don't think they want to be overshadowed by, Xbox's tons of drops of information and, brand new shiny Nintendo games. But then two, I think that, I think that they're just working really hard right now to even get consoles out.
Right. No. Yeah, they are struggling with that. That's for sure. And obviously much of it beyond their control in terms of hardware. But you do bring up a good point. Whether they're controlled or not, people are going to be like, you're sitting here announcing all these things and I can't even get a system. Like, people are just going to get angry, right? So strong points there. I do think I don't know if I'd call it so much a power move. I do think not only E3, we're seeing it more with the Consumer Electronics Show, right? CES, to where tech companies they're kind of going their own direction and doing their own thing now. It's so much easier. It's so easy to do it online. They see Apple just has huge success over the years doing their own thing. But I also think it's beyond that. I think here is us as consumers and fans are still talking about Xbox or Microsoft versus Sony, when I don't think Microsoft and Sony are really feeling that anymore. Sony is, you mentioned, they're building VR, they're building their own world with this tech, the way they did the controllers, where Microsoft's over here trying to build like an online community where it can cross with PCs and other things. They're trying to go a whole different direction with it. And Nintendo's always kind of just been the other one, to where it's more the casual fun games and doing something unique. I think these systems are getting further and further apart of entertainment systems. And by Sony stepping away and letting them have their moment, can go have their moment separate. Maybe that's also going to help make that statement. That's like, listen, you can own an Xbox to go play these games with people on the PC and do all the stuff. But over here, we're going to tell you about, like you said, the VR headset, these opportunities you're going to have with the Sony, how you can use the new controller, which already is innovative and awesome. So I think it might be also a separating themselves, not just a power move.
Sure.
Maybe not. But
I like that, actually. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I think you got a point.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I liked that. So on totally unrelated news, once again, I just like to, really steer us off topic.
We're all over the place.
The premiere of Loki dropped on Disney Plus last week, and we're recording this on a Wednesday. A new episode dropped today, and fans are all abuzz, right? This looks to be the third straight huge success for the House of Mouse and another triumph for the MCU. But I have found myself thinking something lately, and I'm curious if you do too. Is it just me, or are you starting to get more excited about the new MCU TV series that are coming, rather than the films themselves currently on the slate?
Well, I'm really interested to see what's got you excited in that versus the two. But where I'm standing is I can see that feeling right now, because seriously, take all the trailers and clips that they've released over the past year and a half for Black Widow, and you can probably make the whole movie on YouTube right now. Like, we've seen so much of it. We know, we feel like we know what's going on. But I feel like that excitement will come back to those big films when we see things like, we see the huge franchise ones. Obviously, it's Sony, but the next Spider-Man one is supposed to just go above and beyond and introduce the Spider-Verse. Obviously, you have the Immortals. Really need to know what they're going to do with Black Panther, because of the changes there. I think there's going to be a lot of excitement when we get back to those types of titles. However, I see the reasoning here is because they are throwing as much money at these series as they do at a movie. And when you throw that much money, whether it's a 6-hour series like, The Winter Soldier, or it's, 8 to 10, how many ever episodes, you have so much more time to tell the story. And listen, I loved the last two Avengers films, but 3.5 hours every year for a superhero film is going to start to get exhausting. You got to bring those runtimes a little bit down. And I think this is where you can do the bigger setup and storytelling right here on these series. So I can definitely see why you could be more excited for it. I guess long answer short is I'm equally excited. I can right
Sure.
now I'm more excited because Black Widow's our next one, but after that, I think it's going to be really equal because all of the pieces should play together.
Sure. I think that's totally fair. So right out of the gate, you were curious as to what series have me excited. I am super duper pumped for She-Hulk, and I am super duper pumped for Moon Knight with Oscar Isaacs. I I couldn't be more excited for those two. Those both are comics that I loved personally. I think it's something fresh to do with the Hulk material that I think Marvel's been struggling with for a while is what to do with the Hulk type character. And I
Right.
think this puts a whole different spin on it, which I think is exciting. But for me, I think you hit the nail on the head to, use your term, which is to like take what you said and kind of add to it a little bit. I personally think if the budgets weren't being applied to the TV series as well as they are the movies, and we were getting smaller scale series, my opinion may be different. But essentially, what I'm getting now are these sweeping, epic versions of Marvel movies that look as good as some of the movies and have that A-list cast as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? Um,
Right.
and so right now, I mean, on the near future upcoming slate, like you'd mentioned, Black Widow, I'm kind of meh on. I've never really loved the Black Widow character. But also Shang-Chi, while it looks interesting, once again, it's not one like I didn't watch the trailer and go, whoa, I have to see this movie in the theater. I was just kind of like, yeah, that looks like a good time. Like that looks like a good, fun movie. Um, Conversely, I watched the first episode of Loki and was like, I love this series. This may be the best series. And like you mentioned, yes, Spider-Man is poised to change the way things are. We haven't even gotten a trailer for Spider-Man yet. Like we've
That's
gotten
true.
nothing. And that movie comes out in December, I think. So it's like, it's quick approaching. I will put, and this is a slightly off subject, but not much. I will put a fear out there that I have for Spider-Man. I really worry that we're gonna end up with another Spider-Man 2 Mysterio type situation where it makes you feel like they're setting up the multiverse and then they really don't.
Yeah.
And I'm scared that because of the title alone and all of these like things that they have dropped, that it's all going to be a big Marvel misdirection. And they're going to be like, psych. He's just going back to Sony. That's what we meant. There's no way home to the MCU.
Right.
So yeah. So personally for me, I would say my hype for the TV series is way higher than the movies at this current juncture.
Okay. Good reasoning. Good reasoning for sure. Awesome. Well, moving along, I know we've been all over the place, but let's stick with the House of Mouse and actually a little bit with it. So again, the amount of geek announcements we got over the past week, even if it was just small social media teasers like this one, was extensive. But Anime Expo teased on their social media accounts about the upcoming July event, Anime Expo Light. It's going to be a tongue twister. They long teased and it talked about Star Wars Vision, which is the Star Wars anime series. It's going to be a collection of different episodes following different characters from different creators. So I think Love, Death, Robots, but a little more PG, right? So we've been flirting with that PGR line this episode. Anyways, it's seems interesting, seems really cool. I'm really looking forward to it. However, as I was reading about it, I'm thinking Fast and Furious has gone down this road. Marvel has even gone down the anime road before. Pacific Rim, we have so many of them. DC's Batman Ninja. A lot of these big blockbuster geek franchises have played in anime because anime is so big, but they haven't seemed to be successful. Do you think Star Wars can find success here in the anime realm? Maybe with the format of the show, or maybe just it's the material better than these other series and franchises have?
I'm going to tentatively venture a yes, and I will back that up with I think inherently the Star Wars universe has a very Asian feeling influence to it. There's a lot of samurai-esque feeling culture, a lot of like kind of a Kurosawa. I guarantee you, like, I can't tell you how many times that I've read different Star Wars directors being like, I was influenced by Kurosawa films while making this. So I think inherently it translates a little bit better. Some of the examples that you threw out, like Batman Ninja, it was more of a gimmick.
Right.
Because it's like, see these characters, but in feudal Japan.
Right.
That, to me, that's like the equivalent of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in Time, where
Love
they're like,
Turtles in Time.
watch these turtles, but in feudal Japan.
Right.
So I think those didn't succeed or weren't as successful because it was kind of used more as a gimmick. I think the closest one, and you actually didn't mention it here, that I thought was fairly successful was The Matrix. Did something similar.
The Animatrix, yeah, good point.
And put out a like decent collection of various animated style shorts in the Matrix universe that was really enjoyable, like better than the second or the second and third films for sure, in my opinion. So I think Star Wars actually kind of stands a decent chance. They're already all over the animated world, right? So making that jump, I don't feel like is too far of a leap personally.
Oh, great points. Some things I didn't even think about, and you brought up one of my favorite. I love The Matrix, and the Animatrix was fantastic. And they even went into Enter the Matrix, the video game that tied into the whole thing. They did a great job of crossing that over. I think this is a yes and no for me. I think, yes, Star Wars fans are going to follow Star Wars wherever it goes. They're going to bitch about it the whole time, but they're going to follow it wherever it goes. Additionally, a point you brought up that I was going to make too is that you have a strong following that's already paying attention to the animated series. Clone Wars is fantastic. And in a lot of ways, it's very anime-esque itself, at least the way the show runs and stuff. Not to mention Netflix's success of Love, Death, and Robots. The people that I've had talk to me about Love, Death, and Robots that in a million years I would have never thought of watched an anime-type animated series. However, at the same time, diehard anime fans, if they're trying to attract the new fans here, I think that's where it fails, where all these other series have failed, and probably where the Animatrix failed too. Animatrix was great. Matrix fans were going nuts and eating up anything they sent at it. But how many anime fans did it truly pull over? Anime fans are in a culture of their own. It's a different world. And I feel like a lot of the times these are trying to break it, trying to break that barrier and get to them. So maybe my final answer is yes, they'll see success if they just play it safe, do the things they know can do, and use and keep their audience watching. Maybe a failure if they try to be more. I think the Batman Ninja is the best example of it got gimmicky, even trying to really get into that anime realm. So I don't know. It's a question I asked that I don't even think I have a good answer for. So.
That's fair. I win. No problem.
There you go. Perfect. Awesome. Well, that is our big questions. Go ahead. Do you have something else to add?
No. I was just going to say, I think you're right, but I just wanted to pose, like, can you imagine like a very cool, like lone samurai, like Mandalorian-esque take in an anime series, just like a really sweeping kind of like, I think that could be really cool. And I'm not even like a huge anime guy, but
right?
I'd be like,
I keep going to Afro Samurai with a Jedi. Would be, I could see, something working along those lines would be pretty awesome. Really cool. But I really am kind of hoping that we see something closer to Love, Death, and Robots. I think that's just been so interesting because part of the capture too is the art itself, I guess, not just the story. So I think if they can get creative like that, you have a really good chance. So, but that's a Star Wars. I can talk for days. I could talk for years, probably, as well as some of these other topics. Some of my favorite things in here, actually, Batman and Star Wars, and other things Batman isn't allowed to do. Anyways, that's it for our big topics on this week's episode of Versus. Not just the Batman question, but truly any of these. We want to know your opinions, or if you think our opinions are wrong. So head on over to YouTube, wherever you find us. Yeah. You go right down there. There's that little comment section. Let us know. Don't be shy. You guys aren't shy other times. I know. So just feel free to share your opinion. We're actually asking for it. But
Please.
just because we're done with those big topics doesn't mean we're done with the episode, because we've got a few minutes left for some quick hits. Like you're supposed to. I need to add like a horn noise for it right there.
I talked to Tyler about this on the last episode. I think you guys should just record loops of both of you doing the air horn, air horn, and that should be it. That cracked me up when Tyler did that.
Right. All right. Let's do that. That'll be our approach, though. So quick hits. Obviously, so many topics. If we spent this amount of time on every topic, as you saw us the last few questions, we'd be here for 2 hours. And I tell you what, I'm getting hungry. So we're just gonna race through some of these things real quick. Give some short answers. Really do it. And really, I'm thinking some background music. Just pretend it's all in your head. The air horns, the background music, right? Everything there. But I did want to talk more on E3 because E3 is happening and it's big. And I did allude to it. Zelda's Breath of the Wild sequel coming for the Nintendo Switch. So I need to know, Q, are we mildly excited? Are we really excited? Are we turn us into a meme because of the way we're acting excited? That was the meme right there.
You're probably gonna hate me here. I'm gonna say I'm middling because I haven't played the first one. I had a Nintendo Switch and I still didn't buy the Zelda game. Not because I wasn't interested, but because I really dove into indie games on the Switch. So I'm excited by people's excitement.
There you go. Okay, I'll take it. I also too, you bring up a good point, Nintendo. Put your games on sale every once in a while. Seriously, that game is still a $50 game, and they just announced the sequel. Anyways, I'm turned myself into a meme excited. I don't know here. Like the what's that? The cat, scared cat? Anyways. Right.
I love it.
All right.
Let's see. Oh, with theaters opening back up and movies hitting the big screen again, what movie this year has been or will be your first movie back to the multiplex?
So the one I'm most excited for is Dune. Like I've made the joke for the past year that even if the coronavirus is still a thing, I will go get the coronavirus to see that in theater. However, we did go venture into our first new release in a while for A Quiet Place 2, which I think is a good theater experience, and was happy to be back. And Draft House was still doing the distant seating even the past couple weeks. So
nice. That's impressive because most of the theaters here have returned to just normal seating across the board. I will totally agree with you. Nothing will keep me from the theater to see Dune. It is happening. Even if all of the theaters closed, I will rent a giant inflatable screen and I will watch it in as big of a format as possible. But actually, my first movie back, as soon as I got vaccinated, my first thing was like, I'm going back to the theater. And I went and saw Nobody in the theater.
Okay.
And I will tell you this, that movie has flown super under the radar and is awesome. Like awesome. It got me so inspired after I watched it. I started writing stuff again. So go check out Nobody. Sleeper hit of the summer.
Is there a David Cross cameo in it? Because if it's with Bob and David, I'm super excited.
That would be awesome though. I did wait for it through the end credits. I was like, even like a post credit, like let him be the Samuel L. Jackson coming in. He's like, listen, Nobody. That's not
Let me tell you about the Nobody Initiative.
Yeah, we're putting together a bunch of people that nobody would expect as action stars. We're both coughing now. All right,
making me cough there with the laugh there. Anyways, something I have been getting into as I've spent a lot of time at home and my light turns off randomly at this time is Legos. I'm super excited about Lego. Plenty of Star Wars time-lapse Lego builds right now on our YouTube channel. But this week, the typewriter was super cool that they shared. Over 2,000 pieces. But what blew my mind was they did an Adidas speaker with shoelaces and shoebox and all. Haven't released it. It was more of a tease. But it made me think, like, if I could create any Lego set, what would it be? So, Q, what Lego set is your dream Lego set?
I was scared you were going to ask me this question. Actually, I knew that you were going to ask me this question, and I was still scared of it. All right. So I thought about this. My dream Lego set, and this is going to be weird, is the Muppet Theater from The Muppet Show.
Not weird at all.
With minifigs of all the different Muppets.
Yes.
I think that would, and like the front is the curtain and has the big, arches so you can put all the characters in there. But if you flip it around, you get this cool, like backstage, like, with sandbags and like a dressing room and stuff. That is my dream set.
God, you're going to make me change my answer. I want that set now. I want that set. And it reminds me, Lego does a great job on those sets. If you haven't seen the Jurassic Park set with the gates, it's mind-blowing. And the front is the gate, and then the back has all the scenes. I would love just a dream set, since we're dreaming big here, something I'll never get. I want to see Sacred Heart in Legos. I want my Scrubs characters all in Lego form. I think more realistic, though, that I could also get behind is like cult classic scenes. Give me an Empire Records setup, maybe, like that would be pretty dope.
It's Lego like Rex Manning Day.
Oh, God. Yeah. So I could totally get behind that, because you could build the whole little scene. And for the Sacred Heart, all you need is that one hallway. You just do the characters in the one hallway. They're almost.
Listen, I don't know how far off of reality that actually is. I mean, I think they just released the Friends apartment set. So they're already doing like television series sets. It could happen.
Possibly.
I'm into it. Do it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. What else do I got? Oh, Arcade 1UP just announced that their next mini cabinet is going to be the classic The Simpsons arcade game.
I did not see this.
One of the greatest co-op arcade games ever. And it's a must-own for me. It's going to be the first 1UP arcade system that I buy for my theater. What classic arcade game would you want if you could have them make one?
They already released it, Ninja Turtles. That Ninja Turtles arcade game was all I played at the arcades. I mean, I would play some other stuff, but but the Simpsons game, like, I didn't even know this was a thing. I guess, can you give me a system with both of them in there?
Oh, that would be amazing. That's going to be those two are going to be the games in my setup. Those are the two that I've also set it on.
Well,
so.
What else is your dream one, though? What would you add that they haven't released?
I think outside of that, if I could pick like any, I would like them to do a shooting game. Like they've pretty much only stuck to, the classic joystick. Yeah. But I would love like a House of the Dead, or like something like that, or like a Time Crisis, like something that I can play with my little light gun. I think that would bring back a bunch of nostalgic feelings for me. So either of those two games I would love in a mini cabinet.
Well, some of their mini cabinets have 4 or 5 games in them, so maybe multiple shooting games for you.
Yeah, I'd be yes, hear that one up. Let's do it.
There you go. DC Comics milestone titles are back this week, starting with Static Season 1, aka Static Shock, for those who know them. My only concern here is I'm super excited to see these Black iconic characters coming back in their own kind of almost sub-universe, but DC Comics sales have been struggling, and they've been canceling stuff left and right. Can Milestone survive this and stick around for a while, or are they going to see the fate of a lot of other DC series? What do you think?
Oh, man. If I'm being pragmatic, I think that it's going to be an uphill battle.
Right.
So ideally, if I had my way, yes, it would totally stick around. Do I think it will? I'm leaning towards probably not.
Right.
Just because of the way things are trending. It pains me to say that, but I have to be honest.
It's fair. It's true. All I can say is that for these characters, for Pride characters, all that, allies or being Black or being gay, whatever it is, get out there and buy these ones. We need more of these characters out there. Static Shock was super campy. This is supposed to be a new kind of reinvention of him where he's less campy. I would love to see like a legit Static movie too. So let's buy this shit up and give us possibilities of seeing these characters on bigger screens.
Please, 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 please. So I guess kind of in the vein of that, not really. Speaking of characters, old characters, it's been announced that Mindy Kaling is producing a standalone Velma series. No Mystery Machine, no Gang, and no Scooby-Doo. Between this and Gotham, which is a Batman series with no Batman, do people actually enjoy this sort of thing? Like, is that something people want to see?
Well, here's the thing, and this one could be a bigger topic too if we had more time. But Tyler and I actually touched on this when it was first announced, and I was kind of in the same boat as you are. But he made a great point. If they handle it, if it's going to be an HBO series, because it's Warner. And if they handle it the same way they've handled Harley Quinn, because it's supposed to target a more mature audience, and you do get cameos of characters and it's really campy and comic-y like that, maybe we shouldn't judge it too hard before we see it, because again, we keep going back to that Harley Quinn series. It has been fantastic. And so I'm going to give it a chance, but I on the surface, I feel the same way. How you were pitching that. I never watched Gotham. This kind of seemed uninteresting to me at first.
Same.
But after Tyler mentioned, remember, this is the same studio that did the Harley Quinn cartoon. I was like, okay.
I'll give it leeway on Harley Quinn merit alone.
Right?
Yeah, I can get on board with that. I guess my fear is I recently read an article that like specifically said there will be no Scooby-Doo, no Mystery Gang, and no Mystery Machine. And then in my mind, I'm kind of like, well, the thing that Harley Quinn does have in its corner, outside of being a great standalone character already, is that Batman is in it, Robin's in it, the Joker's in it. Like it doesn't like shy away from using whatever character. Clearly, it's trying to even use characters in a way that DC won't even
doesn't want to. Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of one of those, like, I just don't see the appeal of like saying, let's do it, but we don't want to show any of the things that this is famous for. And it's kind of like, well, then I'm not interested.
Agreed. I mean, if you've got the rights to one character, you should have the rights to everything else. It is Warner, after all. They own this already. Right. So yeah,
I just don't believe in, I guess, making an effort to like not do it. You know what Agreed. I mean? Kind of like they did with Smallville back in the day. They were like, all right, it's going to be about Superman, but we're never going to see him as Superman. And I was like, all right. I mean, I guess.
Fair enough for sure. Well, that was it for our quick hits. As always, head on over to projectnerd.com. Check out more Project Nerd podcasts, not just Versus, but including The Last Word, many other series that we are here at Q, of course, doing Last Words, High Five, Project Unreal. Busy guys here, both of us. If you haven't noticed, we did do the Project Nerd Book Club. I'll plug this for Tyler. It was a May read. We announced it like into the first week of May. It's been crazy. We haven't promoted it well. So it's our summer read now. So the book club, Project Nerd Paranesi, is actually good all summer. So take your time, grab it, read it. Through July, we'll start our actual live streams in July and then hopefully go monthly on books after that. But we're going to give you a few months on this first one to get you time to get in and get settled. Remember, it's good to read. We need to read. So read before bed instead of watching TV. Paranesi, Susanna Clark's sophomore novel. Check it out. When Tyler's back next time, he'll tell you a little bit more about it and what our plans are all summer for our summer book club read. Piranesi. All right, Q. Good one. I'm going to have to say, I think it was a draw, though, this episode. We were pretty evenly matched. We really didn't argue at all. The answer more time than not was, I agree with what you said, and I'm going to build on that. So that's become the theme of the episode. But I had a great time nonetheless. It's always a joy podcasting with you.
Definitely. Likewise.
Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was gonna do exactly what you were gonna do. I think I was gonna say plug all of the things Project Nerd, but you go for it.
I was gonna plug one of our newbies that you're wearing right on your shirt there. I wanted to mention we did just onboard a brand new podcast. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it, Q, before we close out?
Oh man, perfect. I would love to. Murder, She Joked is the show in question. They are a unreal true crime podcast. So the concept is pretty simple. If you like podcasts such as what was it? Last House? No, not Last House on the Left. That's a movie. There's tons of murder podcasts. Serial. If you listen to Serial, basically each episode is a brand new, totally made up true crime story with interviews with totally not real people, exploring the totally not real murders that happen across small town America. It is run by an amazing group of female comedians that are all amazing comedians and creators in their own right. They've joined together in this like super Megazord style fashion to create this amazing series. It is dropping the first week of July. And we hope to see lots and lots more from them in the future as well.
I think a comedic take on Crime Junkie. I just had it pulled up and I already forgot all the ones that I was My Favorite Murder.
Yes, that's what I was trying to think of.
Those types of podcasts.
I think I was thinking of Last Podcast on the Left.
There is that one too. Yes, that's a good show too, but that's not ours. Don't listen to it. Anyways, that's it for Project Nerd. Besides Murder She Joked, we have tons of audio podcasts and of course many original video series. Head on over to YouTube, search Project Nerd to find our channel, subscribe, like, comment, do all the things you're supposed to do, but also head on over to projectnerd.com and figure out what podcasts you need to be listening to, especially as many of you return to your commutes now that we are getting post-pandemic. We've got plenty of audio for you to listen to, including this. You can listen to just the audio for this, although I do encourage watching us because that Murder She Joke shirt is out of this world.
So good.
There you go. Awesome, Q. Well, I think I'm going to sign us out. We can go grab some dinner, grab some grub. But until next time, I'm signing out for Q and Iggy.